suggesting you start singing to your colleagues, but if you find it difficult to say no at work, then this video is for you. Hey there and welcome back to my channel. My name's Eva and I'm a career coach and customer success director on a mission to help people build meaningful careers. Today's video is about saying no. You might find it easy to say no in your daily life, and if you don't, I suggest watching my other video on being too nice, but it's particularly difficult at work because you still want to maintain your relationships and your reputation of someone who's a team player. And even though we know it's really important to set boundaries, because if you stretch yourself too thinly, you'll never be able to be effective and make sure that you meet your goals and help your team. But it doesn't make it any easier to actually say no. So by the end of this video, I will give you 5 practical tips on how you can say no in the best way at work. Let's get to it. Tip number 1, don't say no. Simple, right? But obviously we can't be saying yes to everything, so there's more to this. Instead of rushing to the no, try to think of an alternative. Let's assume your manager assigns you a task that you don't have time to do because you've got a lot of other things on. Instead of saying, no, I'm too busy, you could tell your manager, well, I have a number of different tasks that I'm working on this week. Could we take a look at them together so that you can help me prioritize? Absolutely happy to help with this task, but something else is going to need to wait. And by the way, if you say you're busy, don't get caught just faffing around. Make sure you're actually busy, and your manager will be very happy to help you prioritize and choose what's most important and make something else wait. Tip number 2, keep it light. This is particularly effective when you have to say no to something that someone has asked that really makes you angry. Like, how dare they have the audacity to even ask me that? And that definitely happens at work. I'll give you an example. So a friend of mine had requested a 3 days holiday because her parents were coming into town. It was a month out and her manager had asked her not to go on holiday on those days because they had a deadline. And obviously she was livid. But instead of becoming argumentative and potentially damaging that relationship, if you keep it lighthearted and make everything a bit of a joke, that makes your life so much easier. So when the manager says, you can't go on holiday on those days, she can just say, and leave my mum all by herself? We can't do that. So you're flipping it around so that what that person is asking you to do is so ridiculous, you couldn't possibly fulfill it. And of course you're going to take the days off, but the message is still no. Now, how different is that to stomping your foot and storming out and saying, this is ridiculous and I quit? I mean, you probably don't want to deal with the repercussions of that, but keeping something lighthearted can really work in your favor. If you always get assigned the bad projects or the difficult accounts and not opportunities, same thing again. You don't always need to make it this big, serious conversation. You can simply say, well, I can't always be getting stuck with the difficult clients or the difficult projects, can I? So see, that slightly jokey, very light-hearted way still gets your message across, and it means it doesn't fester and annoy you, but it still gets the message across and doesn't damage any of your relationships. Or you could also say no like we do in Cyprus. Tip number 3, find out why someone wants something. Sometimes at work or in life, we just get into the situation where you've got yes on one side and no on the other side, and we don't think of all that spectrum of possibilities in between. So it's really important to understand someone's reasoning when they ask you something before you say yes or no. For example, a client might say to you, I need to break the contract for a month's time, but then come back on board in January. So instead of saying, no, you can't do that, then this is against our policy, and then fighting to win them back, just pause and ask the question, why do you need to do that? And it may be that they have funding coming on in January and they'll be able to pay more at that point. So not asking the question is robbing yourself of the opportunity to, again, find an alternative. The same goes for when customers ask you about certain features. They might ask, do you have this feature and can you do this with your product or service? Instead of just going straight to yes or no, which cuts the conversation there, you're missing a lot of the surrounding context. So actually find out, what would that impact? How would that feed into your current processes? It may be that you can come up with another creative solution that isn't just saying no and not actually finding out what the underlying need is. And this goes for everything. Try to understand the scope of a particular task, how important it is, what it's going to impact before you make your judgment on yes or no. Tip number 4, say no when you mean it. Don't try to be overly polite and offer lots of alternatives to try and sweeten that no. You don't need that no to be aggressive, but you do need it to be firm and polite. So for example, if your colleagues keep asking you to go to the pub and maybe the pub is not your thing, instead of saying, oh, I really can't, I'd love to, but I really can't because I'm really busy, maybe next time, when what you really mean is, no, the pub isn't really my thing, but hope you have a great time, your colleagues will keep asking you. Next week will come along and then they will ask you again, do you want to join us at the pub? And instead of saying no, you keep making up another excuse. All that's going to do is make you seem flaky. So just don't bother. If something is a no and you simply have other priorities or there's something else that you need to focus on, or you just don't want to do it, just say no. You don't have to give everyone an explanation or an excuse. You're entitled to say no, particularly when it's social things that are outside of work. So make sure that you're not over covering the no to avoid it coming across too harshly. So practice telling other people no when what you actually mean is no. You don't have to cover it up. You don't have to make it easier. You can just say, no, that's not for me, but I hope you guys have a great time. And if they still don't get the message, just give them a 10-second dance break of no. Tip number 5, be understanding. Consider that the other person has gone maybe out on a limb to ask you for help with something, and sometimes your no is just going to be disappointing to them. So make sure that you're expressing when you say no, particularly if it's been difficult for someone to ask, that you do understand the repercussions of you saying no. And the way you can soften this is by saying, I appreciate that saying no kind of puts the ball back in your court. And then you can also offer an alternative. So offer being able to help in some small way. So if it's a big project that you're not able to support, can you still be involved in some brainstorming discussions or send some emails or just be involved in a small way that can still be helpful and still support your team, even if you have to say no? You've got the 5 tips now. Think about how many times have you said yes when you actually mean no, and then you stretch yourself too thinly and you're not actually able to deliver on the things that you promised, or you just end up doing things that you didn't want to do and are not going to be valuable for you and not going to be valuable for the team. Hopefully these tips have made it easier for you to say no at work and maintain your relationships. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments any other situations that you found difficult to say no to, and we can workshop some ways to actually respond to those in the best possible way. Thanks so much for watching and best of luck saying no.